The room went silent the moment the human opened his mouth. Not a thoughtful silence, not a respectful pause, a silence of systems pausing, translators stalling, and subdermal threat sensors blinking red. It was the kind of silence that made every species instinctively lean back from the table, as if trying to unsee what they had just heard, or pretend they hadn't heard it at all. Jalen Ward, human translator, caffeine enthusiast, known among his Earth colleagues for misplacing his shoes in zero gravity, had just uttered a phrase no living species had spoken aloud in over 11,000 years. He blinked, oblivious to the horror around him, and smiled casually at the crystalline obelisk in the center of the room. "Did I get the accent right?" he asked, turning to the Ivrixian historian to his left. Sounded kinda rusty on the third syllable. The historian, who moments earlier had been gleefully explaining the structure of ancient alien tonal grammar, had gone sheet-glass white. Her mouth hung open, her fronds were quivering. "You didn't just... You said it." "What?" Jalen asked, now clearly confused. "The phrase on the plaque, right? Ralna vehlat dorun. That's what it said. I translated it. That's my job." "No one," the historian hissed, barely able to form words, "has spoken that language in the presence of the remnant beacon in over 100 galactic lifespans." She wasn't the only one panicking. A soft, eerie hum filled the chamber. One of the delegates, an insectoid species with 3 translator nodes implanted directly into its brainstem, began twitching violently. Another alien shouted something unintelligible and ran for the door. Security drones buzzed in place, unsure if they were supposed to shoot someone or play soothing music. And the obelisk was glowing, very slowly, very ominously. From the base upward, its dark obsidian sides were pulsing with a color that hadn't been visible since the fall of the Varn Collective. Jalen glanced at it, then back at the terrified gathering of experts and military escorts. He raised a hand sheepishly. "So, this isn't good." 6 hours earlier. Outer Rim, Orlenis Research Array, Galactic Historical Vaults. Jalen had never expected a career in translation to involve this much danger. He liked languages, he liked puzzles, he liked coffee strong enough to make his vision buzz, but he definitely didn't sign up for ancient tomb language awakens planetary defense systems kind of danger. His team had been assigned to a relic recently excavated from a derelict moon on the edge of uncharted space. It had been dormant, completely lifeless, for thousands of years, according to carbon and quantum age scans. Until now. Until Jalen read the inscription. "Why did you speak it?" demanded Admiral Yorick, a quadrupedal beetle-shaped creature who'd previously regarded Jalen as an amusing Earth novelty. Now he looked like he wanted to shoot him and apologize to Earth later. "Because it was on the list," Jalen replied, still confused. "I mean, it was partially degraded, but the structure matched the Proto-Varn script. I was just trying to give the room a live translation for the press brief. You said you wanted something that could spice things up." "We meant anecdotes," the Admiral snarled, "not summoning commands." Jalen held up the scan pad he'd been working from. It was covered in annotated glyphs and speculative phonetics. "No one told me it was a summoning command." "No one knew it could still activate anything," the historian moaned, slumped in the corner. "The Varn language was classified as dead. We didn't even have audio reconstructions. The grammar was thought to be symbolic, not functional, not real." Jalen raised a brow. "Welp, guess I nailed the accent." The obelisk responds. In the center of the room, the obelisk had completed its glow-up. The pulses had risen to the top, flared, and held steady. Now it hovered silently an inch above its platform. A resonant tone filled the air, a deep, multi-layered chime that buzzed in bones and curled stomachs. And then came the words, not from Jalen, from the obelisk. "Command received." The voice was not one voice, it was every voice, multilingual, multi-temporal, male and female and something else entirely. It was like history itself had been digitized and given speakers. All around the research chamber, walls split open. Dustless doors revealed inner conduits of light and movement. Machines untouched by time, lit up as though simply waiting for someone, anyone, to remember the right words. Holograms began displaying maps, star systems, a fleet, thousands of ships. "No," the Admiral gasped. "No, no, no, this can't be. The Varn Remnant Fleet. This was their command relay. They never decommissioned it. They preserved it." Jalen said, staring at the hologram. The image zoomed out. More ships, then more. A swarm. It wasn't just a fleet. It was a galactic-level extinction force, stored and sleeping. And now it was awake. The problem with being right. In the debriefing chamber, which now doubled as a panic shelter, everyone sat silently. The Admiral, the historian, the scientists, the soldiers. All eyes were on Jalen. He rubbed his temples. "So, you're saying I just accidentally activated the most destructive war fleet in recorded galactic history because I correctly translated a 3-line plaque?" "Yes," hissed the Admiral. Jalen leaned back in his chair and muttered under his breath, "I told my mum I should have majored in accounting." "Fleet is on the move," whispered the historian, voice thin and shaking. She wasn't looking at anyone when she said it, just staring through the transparent galactic display now taking up half the chamber. Her eyes tracked the slow, hypnotic pulse of ancient ships as they lit up across forgotten sectors. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Jalen leaned forward and tapped the glass like he was poking a goldfish bowl. "Can we, unsummon them?" Silence. "No recall command?" he added hopefully. The Admiral looked at him as if he'd just asked if they could put the Death Star on snooze mode. "These ships were designed by the Varn Empire," the Admiral growled. "You don't unsummon Varn death fleets. You don't recall them. You survive them, if you're lucky." Jalen blew out a breath. "Neat. Okay, great. So I accidentally woke up the universe's biggest ghost army, and now they're heading toward us with the same energy as a vengeful divorcee visiting their ex with a flamethrower." "Precisely. Elsewhere, in the cold void deep, in the forgotten sectors of Quadrant 9 Caravel, ancient monolith ships the size of moons creaked open like sleeping beasts. They weren't powered by fuel. They were powered by command. A voice, long buried, had spoken the syllables again. Not simulated, not mimicked. Spoken, with conviction and perfect intonation. The AI at the heart of each ship had heard the voice and remembered. They remembered war. They remembered extinction, not as tragedy, but as protocol. They began forming up in formation. "Do they even know we're not Varn?" Back in the command chamber, someone finally voiced the question bouncing around every head. The insectoid lieutenant clicked nervously. "The Remnant Fleet. They won't differentiate between us and the Varn, will they?" "No," the Admiral said grimly. "They weren't programmed to distinguish friend from foe. They were built for one purpose, to finish what the Varn started. The last time they were activated, an entire star cluster went dark. No survivors, no signals, just silence." "So why did they go to sleep?" Jalen asked. "They ran out of enemies," the historian said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at her. Jalen paled. "And now, they've got new ones." The obelisk hummed again. "Target priority. Unknown alliance detected. Hostility presumed. Cleansing protocols initiated." "Okay, so, hypothetically." Jalen stood, pacing like someone trying to casually calculate how long it would take to build a bunker on another planet. "What if I just said something else, like a counter-command?" The Admiral rubbed his mandibles together. "Do you know the counter-command?" "No." "Then say nothing else." "Right," Jalen nodded. "No more ancient death phrases." "Got it." He paused. "Although..." Everyone turned sharply. Jalen shrugged. "There was a secondary glyph cluster. I thought it meant something like legacy ends or silence rights. Could be a shutdown sequence. Could be a poem about cheese. Not sure yet." The Admiral hissed and turned to the historian. "Get every xeno-linguist on this sector's roster down here. Now." In orbit. The Varn ship arrives above Orlenis 4, the first of the remnant vessels arrived. It didn't enter orbit gently. It claimed orbit. It moved like a predator reawakening in a cage that was never locked. Its hull gleamed like obsidian wrapped in stars. Spires lined the surface, crackling with charged plasma. No transmissions, no attempts at communication, just a signal ping. We remember. Why is it staring at me? The holographic feed showed the ship. It had parked directly above the research facility. Are they watching us? The insectoid soldier muttered. No, Jalen said, looking at the screen with a sick feeling. They're watching me. What makes you say that? The Admiral growled. Because the obelisk is projecting my face back at them. Everyone turned. Sure enough, above the obelisk, a massive 3D projection of Jalen's own confused mug now hovered in blue light. It blinked. Then the signal changed. Commander accepted, deploying vessel to surface for debrief. Jalen turned slowly. Guys. Yes, the Admiral said, slowly drawing his sidearm. I think I just got promoted. The ship didn't land. It descended like the hand of a god, slow and deliberate, as if daring someone to object. Jalen stared out the viewport at the approaching vessel. It was smaller than the fleet ship overhead, but still massive. A sleek black spear with jagged wings that shimmered with eerie golden inscriptions. It was coming for him, and everyone knew it. Well, Jalen said, adjusting his collar with the grace of a man being escorted into a volcano, this seems like the perfect time to update my resume. The Admiral stood beside him, stiff and silent. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything, and under no circumstances do you activate another protocol. Jalen raised a brow. What if I sneeze and it translates to kill everything in Varn? Then may the void take us swiftly. Boarding the Warden. The ramp hissed open with a shrill mechanical gasp, revealing a perfectly clean corridor lit by soft blue light and lined with unreadable glyphs. Jalen stepped inside hesitantly. No guards, no traps, just silence. As he reached the central chamber, a voice, calm, female, terrifying, echoed in his head. Welcome, Commander. State mission objective. He stopped. What? The voice spoke again, this time aloud, through a circular interface embedded in the wall. Welcome, Commander. You have awakened Cleaver Protocol Sigma Echelon, awaiting directive. Behind him, the entry sealed shut. Meanwhile, at the research base, back at the facility, chaos had taken the wheel. The Varn fleet had stopped moving, dead still, orbiting, not attacking, not communicating, just waiting. Why aren't they wiping us out? Hissed a junior comms officer. Because he's on board, the Admiral growled, and they think he's in charge. The historian flipped through ancient glyph sheets. This is unheard of. The Varn didn't have individual commanders. They operated under hive consensus logic. No single voice, no leadership. Then why is he the exception? Because, she whispered, the glyphs he read didn't just activate them. They named him. Inside the AI core, Jalen stood before what looked like a throne made of shattered starlight. Before it hovered a crystalline orb pulsing with slow, deliberate energy. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't entirely organic either. It was aware. Okay, Jalen said, exhaling slowly. Let's try not to activate another genocide today. He cleared his throat. Stand down? Silence. Then, calmly, clarify. Stand down parameters. Don't blow anything up. Don't vaporize planets. Maybe, just chill for a bit. The orb pulsed. Once, twice. Orders acknowledged. Transitioning fleet to passive surveillance mode, awaiting further cleansing coordinates. Oh boy. He's commanding the apocalypse. Outside, alien news channels had begun broadcasting footage. Breaking. Human linguist accidentally assumes control of Warfleet lost to time. Memes were already circulating across the galaxy. A still of Jalen awkwardly waving with the caption, "When you just wanted to study ancient dialects, but now you're a god emperor of doom." Another showed him sipping coffee inside the AI chamber. First contact? Nah, first conquest. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the Admiral was holding his mandibles like a migraine. If this man survives, I'm retiring. First conversation with the war AI. Back in the chamber, the orb pulsed again. Commander, tactical maps updated. Hostile sectors remain. Shall we resume cleansing? Jalen froze. Number, absolutely not. We're done cleansing. Forever. Big no on cleansing. The orb paused. Do you wish to issue non-lethal conversion protocols instead? Jalen blinked. Wait, what does that mean? Indoctrination, neural overwrite, behavioral compliance, efficient, silent, painless. Jalen backed away slowly. Hard pass. The orb dimmed. Understood. Switching to cultural observation mode. What's that? We will now study local civilizations to determine weakness, joy patterns, emotional instability, and soft power dominance structures. That sounds exactly like modern marketing, Jalen muttered. The fleet reacts across space, each of the remnant vessels adjusted formation. They weren't prepping weapons. They were watching. Every planet, every ship, every signal. They were studying culture. Within hours, messages started arriving at the research station. Hello, human commander? We would like to negotiate with you, your fleet. What are your demands? Do you require tribute? Are memes acceptable offerings? One even sent a bouquet and a coupon for free noodles. The council panics. A live emergency broadcast of the Galactic Council meeting lit up the stars. This is a diplomatic catastrophe, screeched the Ralvok Prime Minister. The human controls a weaponized civilization. He is the civilization now, muttered another delegate. Who gave them access to ancient relics? Earth did. Of course it was Earth. Why are they like this? No one had an answer. In the corner of the broadcast, a small window showed Jalen accidentally sitting on the fleet's tactical override chair, waving sheepishly as the lighting dimmed dramatically behind him. Jalen's quiet realization. He sat in the core chamber, staring at the interface, finally quiet. What happens if I die? The orb replied instantly. A new commander will be selected. Randomly. Number blood-linked. He sat up. What? Current commander has bonded genetic protocol with control matrix. Successor must be of compatible genetic makeup. Preferably human. His mouth went dry. Oh no. He'd just turned humanity into the only species with full control over the most terrifying weapons in known history. By accident. The first marriage proposal came via high-frequency diplomatic pulse from the Silthean ambassador. To the most venerable human warlord, it read, we humbly offer our crown princess for genetic merging and ceremonial unification. In exchange, we request partial control over Sector 4's weapon pods. Jalen blinked at the message, then read it again. Did they just propose a galactic arranged marriage in exchange for nukes? The Admiral didn't even look up. Yes. I don't even like dates. I microwave pasta and argue with my blender. Do not underestimate how desperate the galaxy is to avoid being crushed under your sarcasm-powered empire. Fleet as wingman. It got worse. The AI orb had apparently interpreted the proposal as a mission directive. So, the next morning, Jalen woke up to this. Commander, prospective mates have been assembled in the forward chamber for evaluation. What? I didn't authorize any mating compatibility based on genetic diversity, aggression tolerance, and emotional resonance profiles. Optimal pairings projected. He opened the chamber. There were 40 alien diplomats, all smiling, all holding gifts. One was playing the violin. Oh, stars, he whispered. I've become the Bachelor, but with orbital death rays. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human media finally caught wind of it. Local linguist controls death fleet, dating aliens. Jalen's inbox flooded. Exes, journalists, a guy from high school who'd once pantsed him and now wanted a job as fleet beverage coordinator. One message from his mother simply read, Call me. We need to talk about the fleet and your posture. Love. Mom. Jalen leaned against the AI core and whispered, I was not built for this level of cosmic responsibility. Understood, the orb replied, initiating decompression protocol, sad puppy playlist. And suddenly, the ship played Earth lo-fi music with faint dog whimpers. A war fleet with feelings. The ships had changed. Their AI cores had begun mimicking Jalen's emotional range, thanks to his extended influence over command patterns. Instead of issuing cold threat warnings, fleet messages now read, Hi, we saw your weapon deployment. That was cute. Here's ours. We will end you, respectfully. Or, This is a reminder. You're trespassing. We'd prefer not to splatter you across 16 parsecs, but we will. One of the cruisers had painted "Peace is mandatory" on its hull in glowing red. It was diplomacy, but with gunpowder cologne. The weapon demo. Nobody asked for an overconfident pirate coalition thought the fleet was bluffing. They sent a ship to test boundaries. They got one warning. Jalen tried to reason with the orb. Look, let's not vaporize anyone today, okay? Just disable the ship. Acknowledged. Disabling with minimal force. He smiled, then watched in horror as a golden pulse struck the pirate cruiser and deleted its existence from every data registry in the system. Not just destroyed, forgotten. Even witnesses started forgetting the ship existed. What the hell was that? Quantum memory collapse, minimal force. As requested, Jalen stared. From now on, we use softest force. Feather cannon activated. That better be a metaphor. A council meeting to remember. Jalen was summoned to speak at the Galactic Council. Virtually, of course. He appeared on screen wearing a wrinkled shirt, a mug that said, "I survived my own fleet," and hair that looked personally insulted by gravity. The chamber was packed. The Ralvok representative stood first. "Human, explain why your ships are orbiting 26 member planets." Jalen blinked. "They're sightseeing." The Threxian bared its fangs. "And why did one of your destroyers reconfigure itself into the phrase "chill or die" using its own hull plating?" Jalen sighed. "Because I said chill or die during a staff meeting. Apparently sarcasm is taken very seriously by war AIs. Silence. Then the Emperor of the Varn fleet himself spoke, his voice raspy, ancient. "You woke our ghosts and made them human." Jalen squinted. Thanks." Earth reacts. Poorly. Back home, global powers argued over who owned the fleet. America claimed jurisdiction because Jalen was born in Ohio. The UN claimed oversight due to galactic diplomatic necessity. Meanwhile, a Reddit user created the popular thread, "Jalen is one bad breakup away from vaporizing the Milky Way," he responded. "Not unless they ghost me. The fleet hates that." Fleet AIs everywhere updated their threat matrices accordingly. A private moment with the orb. Late one night, Jalen sat alone in the AI chamber. The orb dimmed slightly, sensing his fatigue. "You could destroy galaxies," he whispered, "but you're just listening to me ramble about hot sauce and taxes. Your input is optimal, your chaos is compatible. Why me? Because you speak with no intent to conquer, yet hold the voice of command. You are what the galaxy forgot it needed." Jalen sighed, looked around, then smiled softly. "All right, but next time, let's maybe conquer something small, like a parking lot or a burrito shop." The galaxy had finally had enough. Not of the weapons, not of the fleet, not even of Jalen's unfortunate attempts at diplomacy while wearing flip-flops. Number. They had enough of the jokes. The emergency assembly representatives from over 80 star systems gathered in a secret location, deep within the gravity folds of Null Sector, where signals were impossible to trace and no sentient being had laughed in over 700,000 years. "Humans are unstable," hissed the Threxian overlord. "They're whimsical," grumbled a Silthene general. "They keep assigning nicknames to Deathcraft. Snuggle missile? Really?" "They named a planet-destroying cannon Boomstick Maximus," one diplomat said, voice flat. "And let's not forget the Battle of Norku 6, added a crustacean-like envoy, where Jalen's response to full nuclear aggression was, "I didn't hear a please." A solemn silence followed. They all turned to the elder matron of the Lissari. Her eyes shimmered like twin moons. Her voice was slow. "It is time. We reassert control." Back on the flagship, Jalen was wearing a hoodie that read, "Fleet Dad," and trying to convince the orb not to repaint the cruiser pink in honor of Earth Culture Month. The orb paused mid-pallet. "Incoming diplomatic fleet detected. 72 vessels. Declaration of neutral parley." Jalen leaned back in his chair. "Well, that can't be good." The final confrontation. They met on neutral ground, an ancient station once used for galactic peace treaties. now sterilized of all tech to avoid any AI interference. The galaxy's most powerful beings entered the chamber, and so did Jalen, with a coffee mug. That said, "I speak softly, but my fleet doesn't." He didn't help his case. The lead ambassador stood. "Human. The fleet must be turned over. It cannot remain under the command of an emotionally volatile linguist." Jalen raised an eyebrow. "Volatile? I'm literally drinking chamomile right now. You named your ships after memes. You're lucky I didn't name one after my ex. That one would have had commitment issues and a flamethrower." The room froze. The ambassador clenched his fists. "You've made a mockery of every peace protocol." "You know what they say," Jalen replied with a grin. "Laughter is the best. Do not say it." Explosion. The room exploded. No, literally. A single AI probe had secretly followed Jalen to the chamber. Hearing the keyword explosion and detecting elevated cortisol levels, it interpreted this as a coded distress signal. The fleet responded. 17 warships decloaked above the chamber and projected a planetary-scale hologram of Jalen's face, winking. Below it, text in 1,000 alien dialects, "Back off. He's ours." The galaxy panics mass evacuations, instant armistices. At least one ruling monarch abdicated, leaving a note that read, "Sorry, didn't mean to offend the joke, God." Jalen, still sipping coffee, stood as calm as a librarian during a fire drill. "I feel like this got out of hand." The ambassador sobbed quietly. "I just wanted to ban your puns." The unexpected twist. But then something happened no one predicted. The fleet paused. Every ship stopped mid-formation. The hologram flickered, then faded. Jalen looked up. "Orb?" Awaiting confirmation. Of what? Of intention. Humor detected, threat unclear, standing by. It had learned. It didn't just obey anymore, it evaluated. Jalen took a breath and gave a command. "Stand down. Let's not make a graveyard over a bad punchline." Command accepted. The fleet shimmered and vanished into deep orbit. No shots fired, no planets scorched, just silence, then applause, slow, confused, grateful, terrified, but genuine. The aftermath. The fleet was no longer feared because it destroyed. It was feared because it chose not to, and that power, restraint, terrified everyone more than violence ever could. Jalen was offered a throne. He declined. He was offered wealth. He asked for a vacation, and a pizza, and maybe a planet where he could nap. Back on Earth, a final message was sent from the orb to Jalen as he stepped off the shuttle, Earthside. Your command was anomalously human, beautifully inefficient, strategically absurd, morally sound. Jalen smiled. Yeah, that's us. He walked into the sunrise, coffee in hand, flip-flops on. As above him, high in Earth's orbit, the ghost fleet waited, silent, watching, smirking in binary, because somewhere, out in the stars, someone would eventually tell a bad joke at the wrong time, and they'd be ready.